I'm going to start and just ask you to just tell us a little bit about yourself. Where did you grow up? Your family, all just something about yourself.
Okay. I was born in Seoul, Korea, and adopted by a family in Utah. I'm the oldest of 5 children. I grew up mostly in Utah County. And when I got married, moved to Bountiful with my husband. We sponsored his family over to the United States in 1991, his 5 siblings and his 2 parents, and they're all American citizens now. My husband and I, I was in the mortgage industry. I did title lending, commercial lending, and then he wanted to start a company, so we started a business when in 2004, I think. So we've been in business for about 21 years, and we are in the aerospace and defense industry. And we have 2 children, and they're both married, and 3 grandchildren.
Okay, awesome. All right. So what has made you interested in running for office? I mean, you were just reelected as the mayor of Kaysville.
Yes.
Why don't you tell us, why did you run for that office, and now you're running for Senate when you were just reelected? I want to have you include that in your answer, but explain to us why. What is your interest in running for public office?
Okay, my interest started years ago. I was a political science major at BYU, so always been interested. I used to go with my mom, and she would hand out door-to-door anti-abortion pro-life pamphlets. And so I would go to caucus convention meetings with her as a little girl and loved doing that. My mom was very politically engaged. When we sponsored my husband's family, he was getting nowhere. So my mom said, we need to reach out to Senator Hatch's office. And after we reached out, and things started happening. After Lee had tried to sponsor his family by himself for years with no luck, Senator Hatch's office was able to do that and help us. And so from an early age and a young adult, I saw that it's really important to be involved civically and politically. I ran for, I was a planning commissioner about 25, 30 years ago, had young children, starting a business. So I decided to focus on my family, and then circled back to planning commission, circled back to city council, and then ran for mayor. 2 years ago, when Brad Wilson vacated his seat, a lot of the mayors and local, Davis County Chamber of Commerce people reached out to me and said, Tami, you should run for this House seat because of the things that were happening in Kaysville, specifically in Davis County, that I was really frustrated about, some of the things that the state was doing. And I felt like I didn't want to run for the House seat at that time because I wanted to finish a full term as mayor. I felt it was my responsibility to do that because I'd been voted in by my friends and family members and everybody. And but I said, hey, when a Senate seat opens, and I didn't expect Jerry to retire. I thought he was going to stay a little bit longer. Then I would like to run for Senate. And so when I filed to run for mayor, I wanted to serve a second term because we have things that we want to finish and things that we want to do. But the opening is here. There's an open Senate seat. And so I figured that if I don't take advantage of this opportunity to be able to make a difference in our county and our state and push back on some of the ridiculousness that's happening, then I would really regret it.
Okay, so I want to ask you, what do you see as being the proper role of government?
I think the proper role of government is to get out of people's way. I think that we need to make sure that nothing that we do limits people's freedoms. What I've really seen as a mayor, a city council member, and a planning commissioner is the overreach of the state. And I'm really frustrated with that. The fact that we say, this is how we feel in Kaysville, this is how we want to be. You can't, and we've been pushing so hard against this, accessory dwelling units, for example, and the state keeps saying, no, we're going to do it. Well, now they're going to force it. They have a lot of density issues, as you know. Certain cities don't want to have density. That should be our prerogative. My husband and I lived in East Kaysville in a 1/8 of an acre lot, 1,500 square foot home for 17 years. We worked hard, saved our money, decided we wanted more space. West Kaysville was promised to be half acre, 1 house per half acre. And that's what we wanted. So we saved our money, built a house in West Kaysville, and now everything's changed. And so it's really frustrating. And so I'm running because I'm tired of that. The unfunded mandates. The state can celebrate how it saves taxes and cuts taxes, but yet it increases fees without any kind of public process. They just increase fees embedded into the system, require the cities to impose those fees. They don't plan for infrastructure. They don't provide us with funding for that, but they expect us to build density. They're not incentivizing people like my own children who live with us right now to be able to have an opportunity to go and buy a house, but they're incentivizing developers. And it's really frustrating to me that they're feeding themselves.
Yeah,
That's just a couple of things. I could go on and on, but
I'm sure you could. I have children living with me under the same for the same reasons. All right, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Brian. You're muted, Brian.
I know. I was trying to. My screen wasn't responding to me.
Okay.
Okay. So Tami, so assuming you're successful in your campaign, you get to the Senate. The Senate is known for being a difficult place to work, where good bills go to die. And there'll be a lot of pressure on you to go along with whatever leadership is telling you. How are you going to push back on pressure to compromise your morals and standards to do what other people want you to do?
Brian, like I kind of mentioned before, I'm a fighter. People in my city know that I will stand up and fight for them. There are things that have happened within our community, within Davis County, where I've been yelled at the state capitol in a room full of people and state leaders and treated quite poorly. And I stood up and said, you know what, I'm not going to take this. This is not what's going to happen. And let me explain why. So I have no problem doing that. My husband and I, we own 2 companies. We've had hundreds of employees. I'm very good at standing up for things that I believe in and things that my residents and my constituents ask me to do. I don't have any angst about that. And, you know, I appreciate the roles and responsibilities of members of the legislature, but I also have pushed back against some of the things that I don't agree with. I've done it very publicly as well. I did it in a Davis County Commission meeting where I called out our legislators and said, read your bills, understand what you're doing. Try to, you know, pay attention to what's going on. I know a lot of things happen, but most of the time I think that they pass bills and things are slipped into those bills and I don't even think they realize it. And I can tell you that for a fact because I've asked them before, why are you trying to pass this bill? And they'll say, I don't know. Ask my intern, ask my aide, ask my staff.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Wow. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, Ben, go ahead.
Tami, you've lived you've lived the epitome of the American dream. You've come here from a foreign country and experienced prosperity and success, and that's wonderful. There is right now, well, not just right now, but in the recent past, there has been a tendency to consolidate more and more power within the executive branch here in the state. There's talk about consolidating power within making the auditor, treasurer, and attorney general appointed offices rather than elected offices. What do you feel about that?
I really feel like government, you know, that's closest to people does the best. And I think that when the people have a say, it really matters. I like them being elected because it makes them accountable. What I've really noticed and learned from my city service is that a lot of government is actually run by staff and bureaucrats, you know, and as elected people, we have this position, we're in front of things, but we don't always have the whole story. And so I think it's really important for us to be able to dig in and understand the story. And I don't think that always happens when you have appointed people. I think that they tend to have a desire to have less accountability than public schools. Because people ask me, and I have to dig in and find out, okay, why are we doing this? Why doesn't this make sense? And instead of just saying, you know what, this is how it is, and it's for the best of everybody.
Okay. Thank you, Ben, for that question. Jen Savage.
Yeah, so I'll ask you the same question I asked the other candidate, not somebody running against you, but so as I watch people run for office, and now I know you personally, and so but that doesn't change the fact. When I watch people run for office, they say certain things during their campaign, and then when they get into office, I have seen it time and time again that they are either afraid to speak up, or and you might have already answered this question a little bit, but I want to hear it again. Or they are swallowed up by the machine, that it's hard to really even say anything that you feel like you need to stand up for. What and I understand you have to be able to work with people. I don't doubt that. But for example, when I've watched school board, because that is where I focus most of my time, and I would watch school board candidates, or people that are on the school board, and I asked them, why did you vote this way? And they said, well, I wasn't going to get the votes anyway, so it didn't matter how I voted. Well, it does matter how you vote. You should always vote your morals and your conscience, and even if you're the only person standing alone, how do you think that you can go into the Senate, which is very liberal in Utah, and a lot of bills will die in the Senate, but how do you feel like you can take that on? What are your thoughts?
Well, Jen, that's a great question. I think that my public experience has really helped me to have a stronger backbone, and help me to know that it's okay to be the only no vote in a room. I will make decisions based upon the feedback that I get and my understanding of the bill, and then I'll explain my decisions. I know that there's pressure always, but there have been many instances in the last 5-6 years where the state has wanted to do some things, and I push back on it. And I'm happy to do it. I'm willing to do it. And it's okay. I, at the end of the day, want to be able to have a clean conscience, and I can only do that when I make decisions that are based upon doing what I feel is right. And I base most of that feedback on what people in my under my authority, my jurisdiction want. So I realize that it's kind of I don't know. I don't know how to say it. I guess I realize there's sort of a status quo, but I promise you, I will continue to stand up against it, just like I have as a mayor. In fact, one of the things that happened that you guys might be familiar with was at the landfill, the recycling program. Layton did not want to have recycling forced. And everybody in that room, which was comprised of a bunch of elected people as well as staff, said, no, we don't really need to spend a year communicating with people, or even a couple months. We're just going to pass this, and we're going to just make it happen because people don't want to do it. And I stood up and said, that's not the right way. We need to be able to take this information back to our city councils, find out if they support it, let people know about it, have conversations, and then come back, and then we come back to the table. And so people hemmed and hawed, but you know what? I was able to gain enough consensus that they did. They went back, they gave us more time to talk about it. There were still cities that didn't agree with it, but at least it gave everyone an opportunity to have discussions. And I got a lot of heat from that. In fact, I had people in that room also yelling at me. And so I'm willing to do what I have to do.
So how are you going to talk to your constituents? I know there are legislators that have open houses, and I know, I mean, that's obviously, we want opportunities to talk to our elected officials. Now, Jerry has been really hard. He is not easy to approach. He never answers texts or emails or anything, and so I would assume you're going to be better than that. But how are you what kind of an effort are you going to make to actually go to your constituents and find out what their thoughts are?
Well, Jen, since you do live in Kaysville, I hope you can vouch for this. I do respond. I answer my phone. I put my phone number everywhere, post it. I respond to emails. I have conversations. I invite people in, especially when they disagree with something. If I see something on Facebook and someone's upset, I will call them and say, hey, come talk to me. Help me understand what your issue is. What I've done in preparation for this, I shouldn't give away my campaign secrets, but I am reaching out to people within the cities that I'll be representing to find out what their hot buttons are, what are their issues, what matters to them. And I'll continue to do that. I love the public engagement. I think it's really interesting to be able to go to someone's house and sit down or walk through their neighborhood and have them show me what they're concerned about. I love being their advocate, and that's something that I'll continue to do.
Okay.
Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay. So let me ask another question. So you mentioned the caucus and convention system.
Yes.
And this last election cycle with the governor's race and all of the problems that we had with the signatures and everything that's since then been uncovered, it's a little bit disheartening to see so many candidates, and not all of them, but, filing to gather signatures. Can you explain to us why you decided to gather signatures?
The reason that I decided to do it is because I believe in the system. I am there helping as a volunteer. I'm a county delegate. I was a member of the SCC. I believe in the party, and I believe it at the grassroots level. Leave. Sorry, just a second. He's unloading the car. Anyway, I believe it at a grassroots level. The reason that I'm gathering signatures is because I want to make sure that people have an opportunity to hear me wide and far. I have 300 delegates within my Senate district. I will have 30 days to get a hold of them. Now, maybe some of them will stay the same and I might not know some of them, and I will do everything I can to drive to every single person's house and reach out, but I don't know if I'll be able to do that. And we know that at convention, sometimes we don't have a huge turnout, sometimes we do. This is an off year, so I don't know if we really will have a big turnout. I hope we do. But I did it because no matter what, I want to be able to be the choice of the people. I want to be able to spread the message. And Tina, it's really important to me. It's great when people don't have experience and they come in. I think that's fine. But the experience that I bring and the relationships that I bring from across the board, I think will be very beneficial to Davis County. I've worked really hard over the last 6 years to establish a good reputation, to be someone that can be counted on, that will follow through, that will speak my truth. I've never had someone come back to me and say, oh, you lied. No, that's not what you said. You didn't do it. You didn't follow through. I do the very best I can. So that's why I'm doing signatures, just to make sure that I am on that ballot, because I don't run a race to lose. I run to win. And I will also support the convention. I was the only one that showed up. Well, not the only one, but one of the few elected people last year at the Lincoln Day dinner that I know there was a boycott. I was there because I support you guys and I appreciate all that you do.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else have a question?
Sure, I'll ask one more. So, Tami,
Yes.
can you just kind of walk through a little bit of the story of what happened with the homeless shelter last year?
Okay. I'll tell you.
I know that's a big convoluted story. Can you give maybe just the highlights of it?
The highlights are the state passed a law. The county was told to enforce it. I heard about it during a COG meeting. I was the first one to volunteer and raise my hand. I said, I want to be part of that task force. I personally don't feel like the data supports the solution, I guess. The state has an idea that they think that they want to have shelters across the state. I've seen what's happened in other cities when they open shelters, even temporary shelters, they become a mess and they're unmanageable. So I did push back on that a lot. And it's not because I'm not Christian, not because I don't love people. I believe that we need to have accountability and programs that actually help people. And so I was very vocal in that fight. I did not want to have a shelter in Kaysville for a couple of reasons. First of all, the area that they wanted to use is currently being used. The admissions building is not vacant and the admissions center is not vacant. It's being used. But the county thought, I was told, direct quote, Tami, you're going to say no and you're going to smile, when they told me that it was going to be in Kaysville. And I walked away from that meeting and I said, absolutely not. You show me the data. You show me why it needs to be in Kaysville. You show me why this is a good idea. And you show me how you're going to actually help these people that are coming to the center. And maybe we can have a conversation. So I fought hard against it because it's not an appropriate thing to do in the middle of nowhere where there are no facilities and no services available. Now, I do believe in helping people. So I did show up. And I volunteered and I've done the pit count things because I want to see firsthand this data. What I have noticed though is these types of programs, they grow. They just grow. And the data can be manipulated to do whatever. So I went on the pig count the last 2 or 3 years just to make sure that I could see for myself with my own eyes what the data showed. And we did not have a need in my city. Now, that doesn't mean there aren't needs out there, and there are people that need help, and I understand that. But I don't think that policy decisions that are made out of panic are good policy decisions. And the other thing was, it was an unfunded mandate. The county just said, this is where we're going to drop it. And we said, what about police and fire? What about protections for the residents? What about protections for the patrons? So we had people, the county said, you know what? We're going to have a shuttle, and we're going to pick people up, and then we're going to make them get back on the shuttle and take them wherever they want to go. That happened, I think, for maybe a week. And people wouldn't get on the shuttle because they could drive their own cars to the shelter. So when it was in Kaysville, I would be volunteering there, and we'd say, okay, you guys, we were supposed to lock the doors at 7 a.m., but it's still cold, so we'll let you stay till 9 or 10 a.m. And then where are you going to go? We had people just literally sitting in front of the building. And I said, well, what are you going to do? Tomorrow's not a cold blue night, so where are you going to go? And people just looked at me and shrugged. And so I paid for Ubers, and other people paid for Ubers for people to have a place to go. And that's one of the things that really frustrates me. We need to be more thoughtful, and there has to be accountability, and we can't just make stupid decisions because they're convenient.
Okay.
Is that a good summary of the shelter?
Yeah. Thank you, Tami. We're right at the point where we need to end. Is there anything else you want to add?
I just want to add that I hope I can get the support of your group. You guys are a powerful group. You're very organized. You know that I participate. I show up. I am very conservative, and I'm not a Chinese spy, because I've heard that rumor. I wasn't born in China. No affiliation with China. I'm adopted. I'm a Christian. I just, all of these things that go around are not true. And I promise you, I will represent you well. I know that I believe in this system, and I really hope that a caucus convention winner can actually win on the primary. And I know it's happened before, but I want to win strong. And I think it will help our system, and it will help our party, and it will help Davis County.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Tami. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay. Talk to you soon.